It wouldn't be a breakfast.
I feel like success.
We're back in our groove again.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
All right. So this time we read The Alienist. I think you guys have a copy to hold it up.
Ta-da! There you go. You have the actual. I just have the library copy that doesn't look like anything.
Yeah. So Mary, you gotta say something to make the camera flip to you.
Oh, here is the copy of the book.
All right. Wait. I think I can show mine. Hold on. Nope.
How far did you get, Meryl?
About halfway.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's not like you don't know what's gonna happen at the end, right?
I don't know what's gonna happen at the end. I actually don't. I can leave early if we need it.
Did you read the first chapter though?
Yeah.
So you know what's gonna happen in the end.
No one's gonna die except for Theodore Roosevelt, like 20 years later.
Well, okay, yeah.
Yeah, Edward Herman was awesome, by the way. So while you did not get the abridged audiobook, you missed some fantastic Edward Herman.
I'm actually still on the hold list for the audiobook at the library because I wasn't sure if I would want it. But
well, it was 4 hours.
I've been on the hold list for about since we started this, so
yeah,
that's why I had to go get a hard copy from the library.
Yeah, me too. Getting one from a friend from work. Then I left that job, so I had to give it back.
Oh no!
So then I had to get on the wait list for the library. So I got it from the library, but then I went out of town and it was due. So I knew I had to return it even though I wasn't done. And then I had to get back on the wait list. So it's been a journey.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. I feel like I should be eating too. Hold on.
Let me get food.
I got some cheeses.
It's basically what I'm eating. I'm eating like cheese and tortilla.
They're all smushy.
That's the same thing. A quesadilla and Cheez-Its. They're basically the same food.
It really is.
Yeah. No,
That's carbs and cheese.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
The part I'm at is where he gets really mad at Sarah for suggesting that a woman had any part in it.
Ah. Which just fell out of my book. Oh, that was my.
Wait. Which he?
Dr. Laszlo. Yeah, Kreisler.
You can listen to the audiobook. How do you say his name?
Oh, Chrysler, like the car.
Okay, there we go.
What does it nice and not spelled that way?
No, it's spelled Kreizler.
Oh, see, that's a disadvantage to an audiobook. It's I have no idea what anybody's name looks like.
But I don't know how they sound, so.
Yeah, there's that.
Really, you need to do both at the same time?
It was I didn't have an abridged copy of the book. I mean, usually I do both at the same time and run back and forth between the two. That's my modus operandi. But
I feel like there's only an abridged copy of the audiobook, right? I couldn't find a full.
No, there is a full copy.
Oh, really?
I found it on Audible.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's 20 hours or something.
So yours was quite abridged.
Yeah.
How did they abridge it?
I don't know. I didn't have.
You don't know they left now.
I mean, it seems if my guess is if there were any subplots, it took the subplots out. So I got
the whole are Sarah and Chrysler in love? That was the whole subplot.
Yeah, no, I didn't get any of that.
There you go. That was a dumb subplot, so you didn't miss anything.
Yeah, definitely it was here is the well, let me put it this way. It read or it listened, I don't know, like an episode of Criminal Minds.
That's kind of how I'm reading it now.
which I was kind of cool. I haven't watched Criminal Minds in like ages because I married a psychologist, and now I can't engage with things around psychology without having her niggling in the background. That's not right. That's not right. That's not right. And actually, there was a fair amount of that as I was listening to this. She was like, "Is that right? Is that really the way they do it?" I mean,
well, the thing that for me, excuse me, without going into any spoilers tomorrow, but what was disappointing to me was just that it was like, hey, we have this theory, and then it was like the theory is always right. Like there was no plot twist. There was no like we've been going off in the wrong direction. It was like, we've deduced this. Yep, you're exactly correct. All the time, always.
Yeah. I noticed that too.
Yeah, I was just like waiting for like, oh, the big plot twist or like the big reveal. And I was like, nope, everything was exactly as it seemed. Everything was exactly as they predicted. I was like, this is kind of boring, actually.
There was an instance when, what's his name, John? Had a theory that was incorrect. Or no, that's not it. It was that he was like missing clues. He was failing to put things together. I'm like, okay, well that's kind of interesting. But the other guy, Chrysler, who kind of reminded me of Van Helsing, was like just always, this is what it is, you know.
Yeah. Remind me who Van Helsing is.
From Dracula.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Really the only mistake that he made was sticking too closely to his theory about the father and not the mother. Which really didn't have anything to do with anything. Yeah. In the end, like they were able to be like, oh yeah, it turns out Sarah was right, but like it didn't help them find the guy. Like that wasn't the clue that helped them narrow things down in any way.
Which is like,
is like you're saying that, and I'm like, that should be a spoiler, but I already can tell from the middle of going to be the case because she's like, why are you so like the whole time? It's like Sarah's this woman who wants to be like the first police detective. She wants to prove a woman can do it too. And then she's like, oh, but what about the women? What about the women? The women.
Yeah.
And yeah, don't tell me who did it because I'm still going to finish it. But like, I don't know. It's just like, I feel like they pay particular attention to the women the whole time. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. And they didn't have any other suspects. Like, how do you go through this and not have any?
Well, that's the thing. That's what I was gonna say. Like, I don't even know if you can be spoiled, Meryl, because it's not like it was someone you knew all along. It was like, oh, they did all this like research and paperwork. They're like, we are looking for someone of this age who had this experience in this part of the country, and then they're like, okay, let's check this record. Here's the guy. Okay, here he is. Like somebody they never heard of. Like,
well, that's also like when they were talking about the height, they're like, he must be 6'2" because of like, well, I was like, there's no way you know that he is 6'2" based on like the stab trajectory in the 1800s. Like, that seemed a little steep to me, but
yeah.
Anyway, did you like it? Was it like enjoyable?
I enjoyed it. My 4 hours.
Jessica's like, I enjoyed it if it had been 4 hours.
Well, it's the kind of book that you read and you go, okay, I see why they made a TV show or miniseries out of this, because like it's very action packed. It's very like running away from the bad guys or chasing after the bad guys. But as far as the like psychology of it, I was just expecting there to be more. Yeah. Like, oh, we missed this huge thing that the author has been dropping clues about, or like it turned out to be this person all along who you've known the whole book. It's like none of that. It was just like, okay, we put all together all the clues, and here is the person. The end.
So it's an interesting thing too, because I think that's what we've come to expect as readers, as consumers of like this particular genre, because that's how it always happens.
Right.
Not to say that I was not thinking this entire thing. I was like, ooh, maybe it's that guy. Ooh, maybe it's that guy. The entire time. Like the cops.
That's what I'm still thinking. It's
Sorry.
It's okay.
It'll be a surprise because it's not a person that you have known before. So.
I was just like, I knew it wasn't. Like, I was just hoping it would be like Grace Slayer the whole time.
Right? No, I had that same thought, like throughout the whole book.
I mean, I guess this is incorrect because, like, you just told me it's incorrect. But the whole time, I was hoping that it would be him or it would be Mary. I was like, it's gonna be Mary because they're like,
Wait, who's
like,
Mary? Who's Mary?
like the like housekeeper.
The one who no spoilers. That one. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't know.
Okay. Never mind.
I can do this.
The one that Chrysler was in love with who died. That one?
No.
No, that was not in the book either.
Yeah.
I don't remember that. I mean, I may have missed it
They
or
may have
something.
that holding out too. Okay, Meryl. Apparently that part was not even in Eli's book, so.
Oh, so it's not important.
Oh, this is going to be an hour of just laughing at all the things that I missed.
It's like all the things that you missed trying to honestly finish it, and all the things that I missed because I didn't finish it, and Jessica just always finishing a million books, and I don't know how you do all the things you do.
Yeah, I feel that way about. I've got this librarian friend who is like that too. I'm like, how do you read all of these books? I don't understand.
Librarians understand because they can read at work.
No, they can't.
Oh, really?
Not school librarian. She's a school librarian, and she's a librarian for multiple schools.
Oh, that's hard. Yeah.
I'll be right back. I'm gonna get some more soup.
Okay.
I'm out of food now, guys.
My Cheez-Its, they're all like busted because the bag was in my backpack for like a week, huh?
You should put them on chili.
That requires like getting the stuff to make chili.
Yeah. And
I don't often cook things that Tracy can't eat, so.
Wait, why can't you eat them?
Because her diet is like this big of things that she can eat that don't upset her belly.
That makes it harder.
Yeah. So I want to know what else I missed.
I want to know what else you missed too, but I also don't want to be spoiled.
Well, okay, so
I guess I can talk about what I know.
there you go. Let's do that.
I don't know what to say. Do you have any questions?
I mean, I do have questions. They're on the wrong computer, though. Hang on, let me find them. Let's see. I want Alienist.
Well, apparently the part... Did you have the part that I'm at in your book? Where he gets like really upset with her for like thinking a woman could be involved?
No. No, I mean, it didn't seem like he got really upset. He was like, no, woman shouldn't, no. And then she shows up again and they're like, okay.
Oh. No, like, he like yells at her.
Huh. Somehow that is unsurprising to me.
Hey, discussion questions.
Yeah.
I'm not going to look at the discussion questions because I don't want to be spoiled, so I'm going to trust you guys.
Oh. Yes, look at question number 5. That's what we were just talking about.
Yeah, that is exactly what we were just talking about. And I have no idea who that woman is. No, see, and I can't help but wonder if I just
I was really hoping it was her.
Lying.
Well, I knew that. So I knew that Chrysler couldn't be the killer because there's a sequel.
There is. A friend of mine has like read both of them and like absolutely loves them.
I got like very strong like Dan Brown vibes from it.
Okay, so how do you feel about Dan Brown?
like his books and this book, I both felt were like, this is interesting. This is a really pretty quick read. Like, I mean, I know I'm not done yet, but I also, yeah. But like, it reads really quickly. It's like action-y.
Yeah.
Like, lacking in depth.
But after the fact, I don't feel like I'm like going to get a ton from it. And I'm always questioning how actually realistic it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, some of that was interesting about like historically, like the advent of fingerprinting as a technique and how controversial that was. And Although in the end, I don't know that really did anything for them. They were like, look, we've got all these fingerprints, but they don't have any like database to compare them against. And I don't think they ever actually checked the guy's fingerprints.
But they were able to tie the stuff together through it.
No
there are
fingerprints
on the letter. There are fingerprints on the chimney.
No fingerprints in your version. That's hilarious. Probably because it didn't end up meaning anything.
That's really interesting. Yeah, because it's a pretty big part. At each of the scenes, you're like, now we have to take the fingerprints. Fingerprinting is not acceptable in court, but it's acceptable for our purposes. Now we're going to fingerprint. Let's talk about fingerprints.
Yeah.
Okay, so did they do like a Herman Melville, an entire thing about like fingerprinting that we didn't?
No, it wasn't like
It was like a paragraph.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, it was just like the brothers were like, okay, we're gonna do the thing, and they're like, what is the thing? And they're like, dactylography, and they're like, oh, you mean fingerprinting? Like we know about that.
Yeah.
They're like, well, it's really controversial.
It's really controversial. They use it in Argentina.
Okay.
I think of it like every time they're like at a crime scene and they're like gonna do the fingerprint thing. I think of it like CSI, where it's like, now the science montage. Like do the carbon and the brushing, and they're like, okay, quick, let's clean up. Like when that mob was forming, they're like, we have to get all of our stuff.
Yeah. Was the mob in your copy?
Yes. The mob at the second crime scene.
Yes.
Great.
Yes, there was a
Like,
mob.
not a super important part either.
But I think it's probably one that couldn't get cut because it was tied to the other to the crime scene one, the crime scene deal. So
Yeah, maybe they just like, yeah.
Okay,
How do you do?
What?
Oh, how do you do an abridged version? Like, do they just cut out whole chapters?
I assume so. I don't think the text is edited at all. I think it is just truncated.
Interesting.
But I mean, I could go find a physical copy and compare.
Let us know if you decide to do that.
Yeah. I don't really have time to do that.
Yeah, that's what I.
But it would be really. I mean, honestly, it would be really interesting.
Okay, can we discuss this discussion question?
Which one?
Number 7. How did you feel about the frequent appearance of historical people as characters, such as Chrysler and John's meeting with J.P. Morgan and Anthony Comstock? Did the appearances lend a sense of historical accuracy? Did they detract from the story?
I thought they detracted. Although I did really like Roosevelt because I just thought there were like some that were really funny, but I thought it was a little forced.
I was really confused about Roosevelt in the beginning. I'm like, this is just somebody named Roosevelt. Okay, great. Wait,
Yeah.
that Roosevelt who became president.
Yeah.
Wait, what? Okay. This is
Yeah,
what
I
we're
didn't
doing.
realize that he actually was New York City Police Commissioner for 2 years before he became president, or before he became governor, I think, which was before he became president.
Enjoyed because like I just moved to New York City. Like when they're talking about like the settings, I have like a very vision of like what that is today. Like they say like the location of some of the tenements. I'm like, that's very expensive realty right now. Like I could not afford to live there, but it used to be like really horrible. And I think it's all of New York, but like when he talks about like different places, it's really interesting like to see how it's evolved to what it is today.
Yeah.
And one of the places too, they talk about how I don't know if it was tenement housing or something else that eventually became the New York Library.
Oh.
Toward the end. At least toward the end of my version.
So somewhere in the middle, maybe.
No, because it's got the novel has a frame on it. So we're in we're in the early 1900s at the end or at the beginning, and
The beginning is 1919.
Yeah. So And that sets up the frame that he's going to be telling what happened in the late 1800s, like 1890 something or whatever. And then it goes back because you only have a frame novel, so you have to go back to the present day. So it's in that present day section at the end.
Okay.
At least that's how it was for me.
It was abolished to make room for the main headquarters of the most marvelous of philanthropical endeavors, the New York Public Library.
What was it? Before was the public library?
It's where they eventually find the guy. I'm not going to spoil this. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I won't say anything more than that.
Gotcha. Thanks, guys. Sorry, I have to make you edit your words.
Yeah. You know, we would rather have you here. So, well, let me speak for myself. And I can't decide if the video is frozen or not. It might be. I'm not sure what's happening. Let's see. Yeah, I think Meryl froze. So it's just me. All by myself. I think Meryl froze. Yep.
Nope. There's two Meryls.
Hey, there's my old Meryl. I don't know how to get rid of it. Hang on, let me try this.
Nope, and now she's gone.
No, she's totally gone.
Yeah.
Hopefully she comes back.
Hey, there she is.
Funny. It like freeze. It like Jessica was like, "Hang on, I'm gonna go get more soup," and got it and like walked out. And then Eli's screen froze. Her face was just like she was frozen this like really delightful, just like kind of creepy smile. And it was like, Eli? And then I was really, really confused because I couldn't tell if it was me or if it was you because I couldn't see Jessica because nothing was Jessica's screen.
Right?
So like,
I had to pull up the YouTube on the computer to see. It's like, oh no, it's not me, it's her.
Yeah. Well, here I am.
That was fantastic.
Sometimes it's not great.
All right. So, who is Anthony Comstock?
He was the Postal Service censor. That there was like the Comstock laws about what was it too obscene to send through the Postal Service.
Okay, and why did they talk to him?
I don't know. He was just there because he was a big important person in New York. I don't really understand why he was there.
Why'd they go to the post office?
They didn't go to the post office. This is when they met with J.P. Morgan. Was that in your book?
Nope.
Okay, probably because it was not actually important. Like most of these things. I'm starting to see how they could cut a 20-hour book down to 4 hours. It's like, that was not really relevant. That didn't really need to happen.
I feel like this book, I feel like it says something about you as an author if your entire book can be like cut from 20 hours to 4 hours.
Right. Because I think if there had been some like big plot twist, excuse me, that they had been dropping. Don't make that face at me. That he had been dropping clues for throughout the entire book. Yeah, I think if he had been like carefully laying clues throughout the entire book for something that was going to be revealed later, then you couldn't cut as much. But there was nothing like that. It was just like, we're gonna go have an adventure, and now we're having an adventure over here, and now we're having an adventure over here, and you can cut out most of this because it's not actually relevant to the crime.
But isn't there a question about the foreshadowing?
Mm,
Foreshadowing. Oh, that's not it.
yes, number 6. Which was foreshadowing number 5.
Oh,
Very obviously. Right before it happened.
So at one point they're talking about like the method in which he did something or other, and they're like, it must be a military man. Like he must have some military training. Was that relevant in the end? Did that connect back?
it was a detail that I think helped them narrow down who done it, basically.
Right.
Okay. Because I was reading about the author, and I was like, he's a novelist and military historian, and he lives in New York City. So basically, this is just like, I know about stuff. Here are the things I know about. Let's talk about it, and then just like embellish where I know stuff.
Sounds accurate.
I want the psychologist perspective, but I don't think Tracy would like this novel.
Probably not.
No, she's more of a sci-fi reader.
You could compromise and have her listen to the abridged version.
Hey, I can actually try. We're always looking for a new like sleepy time audiobook, and Edward Herman's voice is really nice.
There you go.
You could probably trick her into thinking it was science fiction. Like, it's called The Alienist.
Like within the first chapter, they
She's like, wait a minute. That's not what that means.
You've started, you can't go back.
I did think that was interesting that like just the use of the word alienist, because that's, I mean, I hear alien and I think of like outer space, woo,
Right.
you know, kind of deal. And so I guess in a sense, because like psychology was so new or was not seen as a valid method of getting from point A to point B, it was kind of like, woo.
Well, they said it was because people with mental illness were said to be alienated from themselves.
Yeah, they said something about that.
This is the note at the very beginning of the book. So prior to the 20th century, persons suffering from mental illness were thought to be alienated, not only from the rest of society, but also from their true natures. Those experts who studied mental pathologies were therefore known as alienists.
I think my connection is more interesting.
Yes.
It's like, woo!
Their new theme song for book club, guys.
Yes.
Lots of giggling today.
That's good. It's needed.
I agree. All
All
right.
What do you think of the book overall? Like, good book club book pick, or probably should have gone with something different?
I don't know. I mean, it was just kind of like in the end, it was more like just an action movie.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt too. I was like, I thought that a book this big, I would have more to discuss. I feel like it's just kind of like, here's the trajectory. We're just along for the ride. So
Yes, that's a good description of it.
like, I don't feel like I'm wasting my time reading it, but I don't know if like I would have picked it again for book club.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean,
what?
loving questions here, but like,
Yeah. Well, they're either referencing things that were not in your copy or that Meryl hasn't gotten to yet.
I know, right?
It's a little difficult. What was I gonna say? Oh, so one thing that might be interesting to discuss is I had seen a review of this book that said that it was very transphobic and homophobic, which I feel like I'm pretty sensitive to that in books, and I didn't really feel like that because I didn't feel like the boy prostitutes or whatever you want to call them, like they referred to each other as girls and they used female pronouns, but they didn't seem to like personally identify as female. Like it was part of their
like drag, you know.
Yeah, it was part of them being kind of coerced into prostitution through poverty. That this is what they needed to do, is dress up as girls, because that was the perversion that people would pay for. But I didn't see calling them boys as being transphobic.
I didn't read it that way. I was like, I think after the first murder, I was like, well, that's kind of interesting. I'm not sure what to make of this. I wonder if it's a function of the time period.
Yeah.
But as it went along, it's like, oh, okay, so this is really just about them being able to make money and not be on the street and whatnot. So
Right.
I didn't get the impression that they were trans. I got the impression that they were doing it out of monetary need or rebellion. Both.
Right. And certainly the killer like thought that what they were doing was bad, but it wasn't necessarily just because they were dressing up as girls. It was the whole like being a child prostitute that he felt was impure.
Well,
or whatever.
There's also that scene with that boy Joseph at Fatima's like brothel, and when they're talking to him, they're like, "What's your name?" And he like hesitates, and they're like, "No, what's your name like before you came here?" And he like relaxed on the conversation, and I think that's kind of like indicative of like what I think even if it wasn't the case for every like person in the brothel, I think that the author used that to like make the point that like this was like a show that they were putting on more than it was like an identity.
Right. And I didn't get the sense that he was implying that like every trans person is also just dressing up and putting on a show. Like that there was no implication of that. There was some conflation of pedophilia and homosexuality that I thought was problematic.
And also like drag and homosexuality.
Yeah. Right. But I didn't get the sense that they ever saw homosexuality itself as something that was like terrible or bad. They were just like, oh, our killer must be homosexual or must be heterosexual, and they were like trying to figure it out. But yeah, I don't know. I thought it was kind of an overreaction to say the book was homophobic and transphobic.
I also think that like, yes, to some degree, like you can't use this as a shield in all situations, but like the book is also a historic piece, and the terminology and the attitudes of the time should like if they were like very progressive. I
thought they were pretty progressive. Like I thought right. The author could have made them like very homophobic and very, but they weren't like the main characters at least were not at all that way.
And I think that's my point is like there's only so much like the characters can only be so progressive to be believable characters of their time.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I felt like it was other than the conflation of homosexuality and pedophilia, which was annoying. I felt like the author chose not to go down a path where the characters were, products of their times and super homophobic or whatever.
What do you think, Eli?
I missed part of this conversation. What's going on?
Oh, I just moved on to the part about it being homophobic and whether that was. I said my only concern was that they conflated homosexuality and pedophilia.
Yeah,
and that was weird.
Which, well, it's weird, but not really. I mean, this seems to be like a common school of thought.
True, right? Just that the author chose to put that in there. Like yes, that was probably what people thought in 1896 because that's what some people still think today. But it was an unnecessary conflation to put in the book.
Yeah,
but we were saying that like he could have made them much more. The characters much more like homophobic and transphobic, and just said like, oh well, that's how people were back then. But they really weren't. Like they were just like, oh, is he homosexual or heterosexual? Like, how can we deduce from the fact that he's killing these?
I mean,
boys.
The main character also at one point like broke up like a group of thugs beating up two homosexual men in the park too.
Oh yeah, forgot about that.
Like, oh yeah, there are cops down there. You should go beat them up. And they're like, hey, cops, and they ran off. And then he's like, oh crap, they're gonna notice that there aren't cops and come back and beat me up. I can't go. Completely like, unless he was like trying to demonstrate like at the very least like tolerance for homosexuality, if not compassion. Yeah. Like there's no point to that scene.
Right. It probably wasn't in your version. Was it?
Yeah.
I didn't think so.
I mean, there are some places like, did I fall asleep? And just, I don't think I listened to this at nighttime. Well, I did once, and then I rewound it the next morning. But
Yeah.
So not only can we cut out 16 hours, but also we can't even stay awake through the 4.
Okay, no, that's not what I said. No. Because no, I was actually interested in the story. I just happened to like be laying in the bed. It was like 9:30. I was going to fall asleep. It doesn't matter what I was listening to. My bedtime is 9 o'clock.
I wish my bedtime was 9 o'clock. I need to be better about it.
Get up and drive an hour to work in the morning is.
Jessica, what was the reasoning behind that though? Like in the review that you read?
Oh, they didn't provide any reasoning. They were just like, meh, this book was fine, but it was kind of homophobic and transphobic. That was like pretty much the whole review. And I was like, I didn't get that from the book, so I'm a little confused. That was all.
I feel like the author like went out of his way in a couple places to like try to not do that.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think we saw a lot more of like the class issues than anything else because we're talking about these boys who were prostitutes and nobody else, like people had been murdered a number of times, but nobody else had taken up the case.
Yeah,
right.
So
right.
we're also seeing, okay, so the fact that there are let me not say it that way. How can I say this? It's not going to like. Not that anybody watches this anyway, but
it's like they probably see my intro and they're like, "Yeah, I'm out."
No, I mean we've gotten views before. I think it depends on what we're talking about, whether or not we get views. But what was my point? I went too far and forgot my point.
You were talking about class and people getting murdered.
Yeah.
People weren't paying attention. They took up this cause.
Yeah. And I think it was less about the fact that they were boys and prostitutes and more about the fact that they were poor.
Yeah.
So.
Which is still the case today, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Who gets media attention.
And the fact that they were immigrants.
Yeah.
Poor immigrants.
And it's really sad to when was it written?
The 90s, I want to say.
The 90s. To see like historical fiction.
1994.
Okay.
Yeah.
So to see historical fiction that, and it's more than 20 years later and there's still the same issues.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, more than 20 years later since this book was published, but like, how many years?
24.
In the world.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting. There's like one point, and I have like not a long way to go with this, but there's one point where he like walked into a tenement and he was like, I lost track of how many languages were being spoken. It must have been at least 8 or something like that. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of how a lot of neighborhoods are in New York, even today.
Mm-hmm.
Was the dialogue in like different languages, or were there just an observation?
It's just like a throwaway comment.
Yeah. It was like when he was going to speak to the first victim's mom. Mm-hmm. And like, I don't speak this dialect, but Sarah does conveniently.
Yeah.
I knew they kept her around for a reason.
Wait, they didn't talk about the fact that she spoke Italian?
It probably did, and I probably missed it.
Oh, okay. She like translated the note for the mother as well.
Yeah. That part I remember.
Yeah. But she spoke Italian, but she didn't speak like the same dialect or something. So like she could like only roughly, which hear it actually. But also, like, I want to know why she speaks Italian.
Maybe that's brought up in the second book.
Well, she said she before when she wanted to be a nurse, like she worked in the tenements.
Oh yeah, you said that. Yeah, I remember that. No.
What was I gonna say? I don't know.
Yeah, I remember vaguely when they were talking about her history as a nurse.
Oh, I was going to talk about the character of Sarah because I just recently finally understood what a Mary Sue is, and I was like, she is a Mary Sue because she has no flaws. She is like tough and smart and like pretty, and she can like hang with the guys and like nothing. She never makes any mistakes. The whole book, like the one time Chrysler calls her out, it turns out that he's wrong and she's right. And she like carries 2 guns. She just like can do no wrong. She's like one of those female characters that's just like a badass and has no flaws whatsoever.
I've never heard
of called a Mary Sue. And I was like, oh, now I see what it looks like in real life in a book.
In a lot of ways, I feel like the author, though, like reading it, and I guess partially because I knew his name as well, but like reading, I was like, yeah, this is like a white dude or a white passing dude. Like, he's going like out of his way to be like feminist and talk about like homosexual.
The author?
Yeah. Like the way that he writes, I'm like, you don't identify with these groups, but you want to give recognition to these groups in like a weird progressive way.
Right. Like I think he was trying to, with the character of Cyrus, I think he was trying to be like, look how progressive I am, that there's a black person in the 1890s, but then it's like, oh, it's a person who like murdered his parents and is now like the large faithful bodyguard of the psychologist. Yeah. Like that's not a stereotype. Good job, Caleb Carr.
Yes. I mean, I feel like that was a lot of the book, though. It was like, you're almost there. See what you're trying to do. You don't have personal insight, so you're doing what you can with what you have. Right. I mean, I guess if it is published in the 90s, too, maybe it's, you know.
Some slack for what diversity recognition was 24 years ago.
Yeah. That's a long time ago. I feel old. My little brother was 1. 2. He was 2.
My sister was not born yet in 1994.
Weird. You had a large gap between the 2 of you then.
Yeah, about almost 12 years.
I found a character list.
So you can figure out who was not in your book?
So I can try to figure out who is who.
Have you guys read the book Homegoing?
Yes.
I've not yet.
Did we talk about it last time?
We may have. Yes. Yeah, we did, because I was like, I just finished this book.
And I was like, me too.
Was it good?
I read the whole book, and in the beginning of it, it like has a family tree, like so you can tell like what the progression is. And I totally like I always like flip past the beginning pages, and so like the whole time I was like trying to keep track of everyone. And then I like went to this like discussion about it, and everyone's like, yeah, the family tree in the front was really helpful. I was like, there's a family tree in the front. And I was really like frustrated because I was like trying to keep track of it. And I was at one point I was reading it and I was like, I should draw a family tree. You should flip to page 4. So always look at the family tree.
I listened to it on audio, so I didn't get a family tree.
I didn't even have that excuse because I do so many books on audio.
Have you read it, Eli?
No, not yet.
It's really good. I
recommend. It's on my list.
What's that?
It's on my list. I was on the wait list for a while, and then it came in when I was out of town, and then I hadn't put it back on the wait list. Because I like to have, I guess I'm weird. I like to have a physical copy and an audio copy. I don't do ebooks so well. I'm finding.
Yeah.
Yeah, me neither.
I just don't have the time in my life to read a physical book most of the time. So I'm listening to audio while doing other things or reading Kindle on my phone while I'm waiting somewhere.
Yeah. No,
usually the books I don't finish are the ones I have physical copies of.
Yeah, I think the only reason I got through this one is because we were on vacation. And so Gregory was hanging with his grandparents so I could have some time to read.
Yeah. It's also like, it's a, journalistic type read. I felt like it was like, I don't know. It wasn't heavy on character development.
No.
No, I think it wanted to be.
Yes. I was just going to say. I tried.
It's that,
oh, okay. So I understand why this is confusing now. Okay, so my character list is a list for both the Alienist and the Angel of Darkness.
Oh.
I think it's a single. So they're like so many characters. Like I don't remember this character.
You're like they cut everyone.
So apparently. Interesting. Anybody you want to know about?
Whether they were in your book or not?
No, they just got all this background information. Or
Oh.
some people's got like some.
There was that like boy. It was like a teenager that hung out with them. So like Francis or something. What was it?
Stevie Taggart.
Sure. Yeah, maybe.
He was
I
the
know,
one
for a while I was like confused about Cyrus and him. I was like, which one are you? And then I was like, oh, you're two different people. And then I was like, oh, Cyrus is a very different person. And I got him straight, but I couldn't figure out. It was like a kid in the beginning that knocked on his door, I think.
Yeah, that's Stevie.
Yeah.
Did he die?
No.
Does anyone die?
Joseph. Sorry, that might be a spoiler.
It was a spoiler, but I knew it was going to happen because he talked.
Yeah.
Because he talked?
The book was kind of predictable.
Oh, he said something you were going to die.
And then,
like, oh, I can't talk on the phone right now. I'll tell you all about who the killer is later. It's like, you're going to die, obviously.
All right. So, I got Stevie Taggart. He's Chrysler's loyal ward and part-time driver.
Yeah, that was confused me, I guess. Cyrus was also a driver, right?
Yes. They both worked for Chrysler, as did Mary.
But they were both drivers, and I was like, you have two different drivers.
Just depends on who he wants to take or give a break to. I don't know.
Interestingly, Stevie is the narrator of Angel of Darkness.
I think I did read that, yeah. Very interesting.
That makes more sense.
So no, he didn't die.
No, he didn't die.
He comes back.
Maybe he's an angel of darkness because he's dead.
Yes.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
I kept getting mixed up with all the different like not mafia, but whoever they were. It was like the corrupt police or ex-police officer, and then there was like the organized crime guy, and there were just like a whole bunch of them, like Ellison and Kelly and Connor. I was like, I don't remember who is who.
I just think of them as like, these are the two police guys that are on the team. These are people who are like kind of weirdly partnering with them, and these are the bad guys.
Right. It was just like, there was just like a whole bunch of names that I was like, these are the bad guys. I don't remember which is which and how they're connected.
And the two guys who were on the team, their last name started with I, right?
Isaacson,
yeah, I think. They were Jewish, but then named after Shakespeare characters.
Lucius and Marcus.
Oh, nice.
They were like, you think we got it bad? Our sister's name is Cordelia.
Cordelia is a cool name.
I thought so too.
1, 2. Okay, an aside. We're gonna go see Othello tonight and rap.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Nice.
Let's get my nerd on.
Earlier today, Brad was like playing video games, and I was like desperately trying to finish this book. I was like, we're really nerdy. It's like Saturday morning, and you're like playing video games, wearing your Harry Potter shirt, and I'm over here like trying to read for book club. I was like, we're just nerds. We're like really old nerds.
Yeah, we are too. We started playing Pathfinder last night.
I'm like, why do I live in New York? Oh yeah, because there are like lots of lectures that I want to go to for free.
Hey, that's cool.
It is cool. There was one actually this week, and it wasn't free, but it was like $15, but I was exhausted. But I was really mad because it was like debunking myths about psychopaths. And I was like, this would be so relevant right now. But then I was like, but I'm really tired, so I'm gonna go home.
So many great things. Your library system is popping.
In New York.
Yeah.
It's nice because if you live in any of the boroughs, you can still get a Manhattan card.
Nice.
So I don't have one in Manhattan, but I have Brooklyn. And I also still have my Chicago card, so I can get ebooks from the Chicago library too, which is nice.
Until it expires.
It expired. Well, it did expire, but for some reason, Libby still lets me use it.
No.
So I'm like, I don't know. I haven't tried to check out something like new on it, but like all my holds are still going through. So
There you go.
When I go back to Chicago this summer, I'm just going to be like, renew me, please. Thank you.
Don't you have to like prove that you live there?
Yeah, but I didn't change my ID. So.
So how'd you get a New York one then?
I don't have a New York ID.
No, a New York library card. You said you had it.
Oh, because I think you can take like your ID and your lease and stuff, like in mail.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, technically in New York, if you're a student, you don't legally have to change your ID. So if your permanent address is like elsewhere,
that makes sense.
Keep your state ID. And I don't know if that applies to grad students, but it doesn't say it doesn't. So
sure. Why not?
Hey, milk it for all it's
yeah.
I paid $10 to go to the theater tonight because student.
Yep. Well, my student ID also is a 4-year ID, even though I'm only in school for 2 years. I'm like, I'm using this for 4 years.
Okay, maybe we should turn this off before we get ourselves in
I know we do that. It's fine. I mean, my important mail can go to Chicago still. Like that's still an address for me. So fine.
Fair enough.
Do we want to talk about what we're going to do next time before I cut this off?
Sure.
So the 3 that came up were We Are All Completely Beside Ourselves, The Sea of Tranquility, and Exit West. I know Exit West is no. Because magical realism.
Well, we talked about reading. I mean, the other 2 I think I probably nominated because those are 2 of my favorite books. So
yeah, they were both you.
Yeah.
Sea of Tranquility and
We Are All Completely Beside Ourselves.
Oh. Hey, just recommended that one to me. Sure, I'll vote for that one. Actually, I vote for the shortest one.
Okay, so wait. Oops. Did I close it? No, there it is. Okay, so I'm going to run it through Goodreads. That is seriously doing some ridiculous advertising and my entire screen is red.
Oh no.
I think if it's close, I would probably vote for We Are All Completely Beside Ourselves. I don't know what Sea of Tranquility is, though.
Sea of Tranquility is 426 pages, but it's YA, so it's pretty fast.
Yeah, that'll be a quick read. We Are All Completely Beside Ourselves is 310.
And Exit West is 231.
That one's magical realism, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would read it. It's very popular, so I would.
You know what? I tried it once, and I was not feeling it.
Yeah, I don't really love magical realism, so.
Okay.
Yeah, which is why I said at the start, like, oh, we're not going to pick that one.
Yeah. I would read it if everybody wanted to read it, but it's not going to be my first choice.
Okay, well, I don't want to decide between the other 2, so.
I vote for We Are All Completely Beside Ourselves because it's on my list already to read. Eli?
Hold on, I'm looking at the I'm looking at the synopsis.
Okay.
Wait.
Does the synopsis have a spoiler in it?
What? I don't think so.
The synopsis on Wikipedia for We're All Completely Beside Ourselves does not sound like as. It's very vague.
I'm looking at Goodreads and I'm looking at the Sea of Tranquility.
Okay.
And I don't know what's happening there. So let me look at We Are All Completely Beside Ourselves. Interesting. So yeah, let's go with We Are All Completely Beside Ourselves.
Okay.
There it is. I will do up a thing and throw it up on our header. Dealy.
All right.
Rated at 5 stars.
Who has 5 stars? What?
Me. I rated it 5 stars. It's one of my favorite books.
Oh.
Really? Maybe we should read that one then.
Which both of them are one of my favorites. I thought you were talking about We're Completely Beside Ourselves. I think I gave that 5 stars too.
I think you did too. I think you also sent it to me on Goodreads and told me to read it like 2 years ago.
Very possible.
Yeah. It's still on that list.
All right, so I'm gonna cut this off.